Live from the National News Studio, Sri Lanka.
Hello there, good evening and a warm welcome to the National News broadcast, bringing you your top stories from home and across the world. I am Lakshita Iditi Singh.
And I'm Sharon Mascarenhas. First, it's a look at the day's headlines.
Sri Lanka secures presidency of the Asia-Pacific region of the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization. CEB prepares to reduce the tariffs beyond the previous agreed rates. Central Bank's salary hike inquired in the Parliament. Minister Bandula says preparations are underway to hand over Railways Department and the Transport Board to the Treasury. Former Minister Gamini Jayavikrama Pereira bids adieu to the nation. Supreme Court determination on the draft of the Anti-Terrorism Act hands over to the Speaker. 25 killed from a landslide in Afghanistan.
On to those and other stories in detail. We start off with the top story for tonight. President Ranil Wickremesinghe affirms the government's dedication to elevating Sri Lanka as a prominent exporter of agricultural produce through rapid agricultural sector transformation.
He emphasized the pivotal role agriculture played in navigating Sri Lanka through the previous economic crisis. These remarks were made during the opening session of the 37th United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization's Asia and Pacific Conference in Colombo today. The summit was attended by Director General of the UN FAO, Dr. Q Dongyu. The conference, which commenced on February 19th in Colombo with the participation of diplomats and representatives from 34 countries, will conclude tomorrow. Sri Lanka's presidency of the Asia-Pacific region of the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, succeeding Bangladesh's hosting in 2022, will extend from now until 2026. Sri Lanka, having previously hosted the second conference in 1955, is now hosting it again after a span of 69 years. Approximately 70% of the Asia-Pacific region's population relies on agriculture. This year's conference theme, Transformation of Agri-Food System, will delve into key areas such as promoting nutritious food production, ensuring food security, enhancing food production, safeguarding the environment, curbing greenhouse gas emissions and mitigating climate change risks.
The FAO has a significant role in Asia-Pacific region in promoting food security, transforming agri-food systems for sustainable production, building sustainable and resilient agri-food systems, which has relevance to the SDGs. Now, as far as Sri Lanka is concerned, we would go beyond it. It's also going to play a major role in the transformation of our economy. You have come here and we are hosting this conference at a time when Sri Lanka is emerging for an economic crisis. A crisis emanating from the fact that we declared self-bankrupt. In 2022, we didn't have fertilizer for cultivation. There was a shortage of food. There was a shortage of fuel and basically a shortage of foreign exchange. In coming to this position in such a short time, I must say agriculture played an important role. As I looked at the economy, what were the low-hanging fruits, where could we first get our results? The first was agriculture. The second was tourism. It's a question of how do we go. Fortunately, we had assistance that was provided for us by USAID in giving us the fertilizer. We were able to access fertilizer on our own. That made a difference. By 2023, April, when the main cultivation season came, we were out of the woods. We had a good season, and I knew from there onwards we could go ahead. So that was first. And then throughout the year, tourism started picking up. So agriculture did play a role. Now what would I have done if there was no agriculture? If there was no food production? That's a big question. And again this year, throughout the last year, we were fortunate, and this year again, we'll have a good crop for this season in April. And we'll go on to the second crop towards the end of the year. Agriculture did play, and remember, in all our countries, agriculture has an important role, and agriculture can play a role in ensuring a country develops. So if you are ever in a crisis, first go for agriculture. That's what I could recommend to all of you.
I wish to extend a warm welcome to the opening ceremony of the 37th session of the Food and Agriculture Organization Regional Conference for Asia and the Pacific. I am honored to stand before you once again as the Minister of Agriculture and Plantation Industries of Sri Lanka, and my heartfelt gratitude for your active participation and engagement. Let us reaffirm our dedication to collaborative efforts that will shape the future of agriculture in our region.
This is the second time that Sri Lanka has hosted an FAO Regional Minister Conference for Asia and the Pacific. In June 1955, nearly 70 years ago, the second session of the Asia-Pacific Regional Conference was held in Kandy.
Following the conference's opening session, President Ranil Wickremesinghe participated in a group photo with foreign ministers and delegates before enhancing in discussions with attending agriculture ministers.
The climate crisis and the challenges of achieving UN Sustainable Development Goals as well as accessing finances became hot topics at the 37th Ministerial Session of the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization Regional Conference for Asia and Pacific in Colombo today. In the sidelines of the summit, Assistant Director General of UNFAO Beth Crawford, in an exclusive interview, spoke to the national television, elaborating the regional conference. Ministers from 46 UNFAO member countries discussed common challenges and shared experiences in achieving the Sustainable Development Goals during these sessions. UNFAO Assistant Director General Beth Crawford told the national television that the organization is facilitating the dialogue covering all regions in the world.
FAO is holding a series of regional conferences, what we're calling regional ministerial conferences. So these are high-level conferences in the 5 regions of FAO, and the first meeting is held here now. We're very happy to be here in Sri Lanka. It's the first conference that we're holding for Asia Pacific in this series of conferences. The rest will happen in the next few months for the other regions of the world. And the idea is really to bring the countries of the region together to discuss together what are the issues and the global challenges, as you've mentioned now, around food and agriculture, and in particular around agri-food systems transformation. So at FAO, a goal for our work is to support countries to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals through agri-food systems transformation. So that's for better production, better nutrition, better environment, and a better life, leaving no one behind. There are many challenges coming together, climate change issues, droughts, floods, unexpected events that impact agriculture and the entire food production chain. And so we work with countries to really respond to their needs and desires for support from FAO. So it's a chance, these meetings are very good high-level opportunities for information sharing, also for FAO to be listening to the needs of the countries in order to provide the type of support that is needed. The impact of climate change is very significant, of course, in the fields, the areas that FAO works in, agriculture. I think here in Sri Lanka too, where traditionally you used to have very, very clear rainy seasons. The two seasons you more or less could tell from the calendar when they would start and when they would end. That type of predictability is changing around the world due to climate change and other factors. Also, soil health, water resources, inputs, all of these are affected by climate change. So we work also with countries on new technologies, new seeds, new, maybe drought-resilient seeds and different ways of irrigation techniques, all of that broad range to be better prepared. We're really working with countries to make sure that they're also prepared for future crises. So we're learning from what's happening now and aiming to be prepared better for and be more resilient for the future.
Minister Kanchana Wijesekara says the electricity tariffs are expected to be reduced by a large margin than the previously agreed rates. Addressing the Parliament today, the Minister said that the proposal pertaining to the tariff reduction will be directed to the Public Utilities Commission within the next 2 days. Minister Kanchana Wijesekara said that a cabinet decision was reached in last December to amend the electricity tariffs from February. Accordingly, he said that the relevant proposals have been handed over by the Electricity Board. Meanwhile, he said that a request was made to the Public Utilities Commission to provide proposals of the stakeholders regarding the tariff revision. Many stakeholders representing various sectors took part in these discussions and extended their proposals in this regard. Also, he said that the Public Utilities Commission opened to gather public opinions over the revisions on the 15th. The Minister said that the revisions will be made based on the gathered proposals and opinions. Also, he said that the Ministry has directed instructions to allocate funds for the Electricity Board during the next 3 years without making an allocation this year. Accordingly, he said that the amended electricity tariff methodology will be handed over within the next 2 days. He added that the electricity tariffs are expected to be reduced by a large margin than the previously agreed rates. With this proposal, he said that the PUCSL will take necessary decisions.
Chief Opposition Whip Parliamentarian Lakshman Kiriyalla says that the upper management central bank has increased their monthly salaries while urging the public to tighten their spending. Remarks were shared in this regard during the Parliament as well as at the Cabinet briefing. Parliamentarian Lakshman Kiriyalla said that the Central Bank and the Ministry of Finance concealed the inclination towards the country's bankruptcy in the past. Despite the shortcomings in the past and the current bankruptcy status of the country, he alleged that the Central Bank officials have increased their salaries by 70%. However, he said that the Central Bank has urged the public to tighten their spending at this hour. State Minister Ranjit Siambalapitiya said that the salaries of the Central Bank officials are above the average salary scales in any country. He said that the main reason for a salary hike is the need to retain the economists with the bank. He said that upon an agreement, their salaries are expected to increase once in 3 years. He said that the move is an independent right of the bank. Parliamentarian Lakshman Kiriyalla said that the Central Bank officials are responsible for the bankruptcy of the nation despite their special skills. He said that the salary of the Deputy Governor has been increased from 700,000 rupees to 1.6 million and the management assistant salary has also increased to 75,000 rupees. Minister Bandula Gunawardena said that the Central Bank Governor and the Monetary Board are responsible to make a clarification in this regard. He said that the Central Bank has its own legal framework as an independent institute. Therefore, he said that the primary institution responsible for implementing monetary policy, managing the currency of the country and controlling the money supply, the regulations pertaining to the Central Bank are unchallengeable.
Minister Bandula Gunawardena says that a proposal was made to hand over the Railways Department and the Sri Lanka Transport Board to the Treasury. He pointed out that the behaviour of the officials led to this decision. Responding to a query raised by a journalist citing that the railway-related accidents remain unchanged even though the gate system was put in place bearing heavy costs, the Minister Bandula Gunawardena said that the cabinet paper was presented to establish a low-cost railway gate system not only to protect human lives but also wild animals after taking over the ministerial post. He said that the cabinet paper indicated that 1.5 million rupee pilot project was initiated jointly with the State Development and Construction Corporation and the Technological Private sector. He said that it was implemented during the last full moon Poya day in Godagama. However, he pointed out that a significant time span was taken to determine the success of the proposed railway gate system. He added that the opposition leader was also a part of this initiative. He added that even the Treasury requested clarifications in this regard. Therefore, the minister said that he decided to hand over the Railway Department and the Sri Lanka Transport Board to the Treasury by informing the cabinet considering the lethargic process. He said that there is no procedure in place to promote and recruit officials to the Sri Lanka Transport Board. The final rites of the former Minister late Gamini Jayavikrama Pereira was held today.
It was held at the Pannala public grounds. He was 83 years of age at his demise. President Ranil Wickremesinghe offered his final respects to the late Gamini Jayavikrama Pereira. The president paid his condolences to the family at the residence in Pannala Maholava this afternoon. Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena, former President Mahinda Rajapaksa, opposition leader Sajith Premadasa were also present to pay their last respects. Obtaining the membership of the United National Party from former Prime Minister Dudley Senanayake in 1969, late Gamini Jayavikrama Pereira elected to the Parliament in 1977 representing the Kurunegala district. He assumed various ministerial portfolios of the UNP governments. He had also assumed the presidency of the United National Party. He was the Minister of Wildlife and Buddha Sasana in the Good Governance government in 2015. The remains which were kept at his residence in Pannala Maholava were later taken to Giriyulla Vikramashila Central College following religious rites. The final rites of the former minister late Gamini Jayavikrama Pereira was held at the Pannala public grounds.
Minister Bandula Gunawardena says that the government objective is to convert all three-wheelers in the country to electric vehicles by 2025. The minister made these remarks while taking part in a ceremony to declare open a streamlined three-wheeler passenger service at the Makumbura Multimodal Centre. Over 12,000 passengers use the Makumbura Multimodal Centre on a daily basis. The three-wheeler passenger service was commenced on an effort to streamline the passenger transportation. 76 members of the United Three-Wheeler Association, who are currently operating near the centre, entered into an agreement in this regard. An app consisted of a time schedule and a software to make a booking for a three-wheeler will be made available for the passengers. The details of the three-wheelers will be displayed on a digital screen at the centre. Minister Bandula Gunawardena said the government objective is to convert all three-wheelers into a country to electric vehicles by 2025. Accordingly, he said that the government is following an e-mobility policy to implement these initiatives. He also said that necessary concessions will be provided for those who convert their three-wheelers to electric vehicles. He added that charging centres will be established and Makumbura Multimodal Centre will be prioritised in this effort. Also, he said that 200 electric buses will be deployed in the Western Province in the next couple of months.
A meeting between Deputy Director of the Colombo National Hospital, Dr. Rukshan Bellana, and the government medical officers was held today. Subsequently, they shared remarks to the media. Deputy Director of the Colombo National Hospital, Dr. Rukshan Bellana, said that there is a mechanism in place to transfer a medical officer from an institute. He said that a decision was taken not to take any measures through the organization in this regard. Shamil Vijay Singh of the Government Medical Officers Forum said that there is an issue if those who believe that they could behave in their own terms and change the functions of the hospital. He said that measures should be taken against such acts. State Minister Janaka Wakkumura has been appointed as the State Minister for Provincial Councils, Local Government and Environment.
The appointment has been made by President Ranil Wickremesinghe. The swearing-in ceremony was held at the Presidential Secretariat this afternoon in the presence of President Ranil Wickremesinghe. This new appointment supplements Parliamentarian Wakkumura's existing role as the State Minister of Provincial Councils and Local Government. President Secretary Samaneka Naika also attended the swearing-in ceremony.
The Speaker has received the determination of the Supreme Court in respect of the bill titled Anti-Terrorism. Accordingly, the Supreme Court has informed that several sections of the draft bill are not consistent with the Constitution. Meanwhile, remarks were shared over several persisting issues in the country in the Parliament today. Parliamentarian Vimal Veeravansa said that Minister Harin Fernando has recently made a statement in India alleging that Sri Lanka is part of India. He inquired whether this is the stance of the Cabinet of Ministers or the official stance of the government. Minister Prasanna Ranatunga said that this was not discussed in the Cabinet. Minister Manusha Nanakara said that the social media has distorted the statement made by Minister Harin Fernando. Therefore, he said that the entire speech has to be referred in this regard. The minister said that Minister Harin Fernando was making a statement over the historical relations between Sri Lanka and India. Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa said that Parate execution methodology should be halted temporarily as small and medium-scale industrialists are in a debt trap at present. State Minister Ranjit Siambalapetia urged to look into this issue in a humane manner. He said that while exploring into the solutions to address the crisis in the country, it is important to direct attention on the issues faced by various stakeholders from such efforts. He said that the bank interests on non-performing loans have increased to 13%. However, he said that if a bank encounters certain level of difficulty, it will be reflected negatively on the economy of the country. Out of the overall depositors in the country, he said that 60% have only less than 5,000 rupees as deposits. He added that 80% of the assets of the bank are the deposits of these depositors. Therefore, he said that the government, with its responsibility to find solutions for all these issues, continue to issue circulars in an effort to safeguard the small and medium industrialists. He said that the central bank has established a separate department to inquire into these issues.
Iran Foreign Affairs Minister along with a delegation arrived in the country last night for an official visit. The delegation will remain in the country for 3 days. Minister of Foreign Affairs of Iran, Dr. Hussein Amir Abdulhain, has undertaken an official visit to Sri Lanka on an invitation extended by the Foreign Affairs Minister Ali Sabri. The 20-member delegation was welcomed at the Katnaika International Airport by State Minister Tharaka Balasuriya.
Cabinet of Ministers has granted approval for the promotion of maritime passenger transport between Sri Lanka and India. Under this initiative, a low-cost travel and transportation on fee system is also expected to be introduced. Accordingly, the Cabinet of Ministers approved the proposal to reduce the deviation tax currently charged to passengers leaving Sri Lanka by passenger vessels and passenger ships to $5 and $20 respectively. This will also grant free baggage allowance up to 60 kilograms to a passenger travelling by passenger vessels. The proposal was presented by Minister Nimal Siripala de Silva. The 14th round of discussions of the proposed India-Sri Lanka Economic and Trade Cooperation Agreement is scheduled to be held on the first week of March 2024. The Cabinet of Ministers took the information into consideration furnished by President Ranil Wickremesinghe in this regard to the current situation of the proposed cooperation agreement. The Cabinet of Ministers granted approval to the joint proposal furnished by President Ranil Wickremesinghe and Minister Bandula Gunawardena to revise the Public Performance Ordinance No. 7 of 1912 and direct the legal draftsman to prepare a draft bill including the relevant provisions, introducing a new act titled Public Performance Categorization Board. The Cabinet of Ministers granted approval for the resolution furnished by President Ranil Wickremesinghe to direct the legal draftsman to prepare the composite draft bill on child rights. The act is expected to ensure all rights declared in the Child Rights Convention, in addition to the legal provisions existing for ensuring security and protection of Sri Lankan childhood.
U.S. Undersecretary Elizabeth M. Allen says the proliferation of disinformation in the information space will remain unchanged and may worsen if with the introduction of artificial intelligence. She made these remarks while speaking at a discussion in the Press Club event organised by the Sri Lanka Press Institute in Colombo yesterday.
Social media became a wide topic in this forum as well as now in Sri Lanka according to this online safety bill. And in the United States, recently a House committee convened all the social media bosses where Mark Zuckerberg had to make a public apology from a group of victims. So with that, what can you say about the US government's policy and the recent developments on social media, especially about these harmful effects as well as the behavior of social media?
As you know, the United States has continued to engage with the leaders of tech companies, of social media companies, to ensure that their policies, that their terms of service, that their new platforms are taking into account the very real societal effects that their platforms are having on people both in the United States and around the world. We're keenly aware that global audiences are using these platforms, and they take increasing responsibility for what their platforms might mean if they are particularly misused in societies around the world. And the social media companies are in touch with us in particular on how to curb hate speech and violent speech. And what we're seeing in the information space is a proliferation of mis and disinformation that in my view is never going away and will likely only get worse with AI. And so if we can't pretend that the spigot of dis and misinformation is going to be cut off, what are the areas we can specifically focus on? And there are some key areas we're working with the social media companies on. Like I said, hate speech, violent speech, the threat of violence and harassment. These are things that we all need to see reduced, eradicated in the online space because people's lives are at stake, people's safety is at stake. The other area in which we're really focused on is the misuse of the information space, the willful manipulation of the information space by our adversaries. We will continue to find solutions in the policy space, in the regulatory space, and in discussions with the private sector, including the tech companies, on how to make sure that we have a cohesive strategy for combating foreign malign influence. The United States does share the concerns of journalists, of influencers, of content creators, really of people everywhere, on the potential repression on freedom of expression and the stifling of dissent that the online safety bill looks to face. And we are encouraged by the amendments process. We have been offered an opportunity to give our feedback, and we have done so privately and publicly. We do share the concerns by the technology companies as well in terms of their ability to operate here in Sri Lanka freely.
Here's more local news in brief. The Namam Mahaperahara of the Hunupitiya Gangarama Temple in Colombo will parade the streets on the 23rd and 24th. The procession will be held for the 45th occasion. A media briefing held in this regard at the Government Information Department today. The inaugural program of the Weekly School 2024 series was held at the Dharmapala College, Pannipitiya. The series was initiated with the intention to create mindfulness among school children. It was held with the participation of Minister Susil Premajantha.
A high tourist inflow can be observed in many parts of the country these days. Accordingly, tourist resorts continue to organize various programs for the entertainment of the inbound tourists. Polonnaruwa is also an attractive tourist destination at present. Tourists from various countries including the United Kingdom, the United States, India and Turkey are flocking to Polonnaruwa to witness attractions in the historical city. The tourists have shown more interest in seeing wild animals at the Polonnaruwa wildlife parks. Also, large crowds of tourists gather at the Polonnaruwa sacred site to witness the heritage of the country. Reports have indicated that the inflow of tourists has increased the daily earnings of the business community in the region.
We are here to celebrate our 50th wedding anniversary, and to mark this special occasion we've actually come to Sri Lanka, having travelled to a lot of other countries and comparing it and considering it's a small island. There is so much to see and so much variety, and people are so polite and so friendly,
Well, we're from Germany, and I think it's completely different than Germany, of course, but like with the climate and the animals and food, but it's really nice. Well, I can recommend it. Just come here and enjoy the country and the people and the food.
Thank you.
Stay tuned with us. Foreign news coming your way after this short break.
Hot and spicy fun bite pick up vivara karanna beat ka remake karanna to winna hadavata bawala yanna kindra passion karanna fun muturanna kottami kikke kamenna TikTok viral yadava Lucky
Welcome back to the news, and we'll take a look at foreign news now. At least 25 people have died after a landslide caused by heavy snow swept through a village in Afghanistan. So far, 8 people are known to have been injured in the incident, and there are fears the death toll may rise as officials say the weather has hampered rescue efforts, with helicopters unable to land and snow blocking the roads. Those who have managed to reach the village in the eastern province of Nuristan were forced to use shovels and axes to dig through the rubble. It was reported that snow was continuing to fall even as people were trying to reach potential survivors in the village of Nakre. Landslides, avalanches and other disasters are not uncommon in Nuristan, a mountainous region covered in forests near the border with Pakistan.
Prima kottumi pantamai
A quick look at the sports news before we wind up for tonight. Sri Lanka has managed to lead the T20 series against Afghanistan by 2-0 after registering a significant victory in the second T20 match. The match was played at the Damulla International Cricket Stadium.
Winning the toss, Afghanistan decided to field first. Sri Lankan innings was opened by Pathum Nissanka and Kusal Mendis. Pathum Nissanka scored 25 while Kusal Mendis scored 23 runs. Angelo Matthews scored 42 runs while Sadira Samaravikrama scored 51, registering his first T20 half century. Accordingly, Sri Lanka scored 187 runs for the loss of 6 wickets in their innings. In response, Afghanistan only managed to gather 115 runs in their innings. Karim Janat scored 28 while Mohammad Nabi scored 27 runs. Angelo Matthews, Binura Fernando, Mahesh Deekshana and Wanindu Hasaranga picked up 2 wickets each. Wanindu Hasaranga became the second Sri Lankan to cross the 100-wicket mark in T20s and the second quickest of the world to reach this milestone. Man of the match was Angelo Matthews. The final T20 match will be held tomorrow.
The big match between St. Benedict's College, Kotahena and Wesley College, Colombo will be held on the 23rd and 24th of February at the Pisara Oval Grounds in Colombo. A media briefing was held in Colombo recently regarding the preparations of the match.
The trophy of the annual big match was unveiled during the media briefing. Sharujan Shanmuganathan will lead the St. Benedict side at this year's encounter. He represented Sri Lanka at the Under-19 World Cup. Sanindu Amarasinghe will lead the side of Wesley College. The one-day match will be held on the 2nd at the Pisara Oval Grounds. Principals of both schools were present at the media briefing. That's it. That's a look at Rupavahini News for tonight.
Join us tomorrow for more of the very latest. Until then, good night.